emails from my listeners expressing their dismay over the Supreme Court's decision on Obamacare. And that was to be expected, and a lot of them asked me what they need to do now, and even more asked for contact numbers for their local Tea Party. But, I have to tell you that we do have a purpose in all of this, and I hope that I can encourage you a little bit during this first half hour of the show. And if I can't do it, I've got some words from Ronald Reagan that I think will really drive it home. But we do have a purpose. And I wonder, have you thought about that? That God has placed each one of us purposely, not by chance, not by mistake, but purposely placed us where we are right now at this time. You and I are here for such a time as this. Do you believe that? I mean, I feel that in the very core of my being, that there is no doubt in my mind that there is a work for each one of us to do, and that every one of us are the solution to healing this great nation. No one else, nothing else. It's you and I. Now, I know that you're dismayed and discouraged, and I share that with you. We have a Supreme Court that failed to uphold our Constitution, and that is shameful. Absolutely shameful. And the liberals are trying to bring us down. I mean, all the time. I mean, here we have people who have been charged to protect our Constitution and our liberty, and they're trying to take us down. Let me ask you something. If someone is trying to take you down, are you just going to give in and let them? Absolutely not. You are going to fight. You're going to scream and scratch and fight and claw your way back up. You will not allow them to take you down. And that is exactly what we will do. If they think they saw something amazing, unbelievable, historical in 2010, I have news for them. They ain't seen nothing yet. It was Eleanor Roosevelt that once said, a woman is like a tea bag. You don't know how strong she is until she's in hot water. Let me tell you something. You and I, we who are patriots and love freedom, we too are like tea bags. And we have just found ourselves in hot water, and now they're going to see just how strong we really are. You're going to see it this November. We've got to fight to preserve our Constitution and our liberties. Think about this. The year was 1787. The place? The State House in Philadelphia. The very same location that the Declaration of Independence was signed 11 years earlier. 4 months of deliberation. Now that 55 delegates got together and deliberated over this process. 4 months, that's how much they cared about this process. That's how important they understood this to be. They sacrificed their time to frame a constitution for a federal republic. When Benjamin Franklin left Independence Hall, when the Constitutional Convention had come to an end, on that final day of deliberation, a woman stopped him and asked, well, doctor, what have we got? A republic or a monarchy? And Franklin responded, a republic, if you can keep it. I truly believe that is the question today. We have a republic. At times it may seem as though it's hanging by a thread, but we have a republic still. Can we keep it? It was also Franklin that reminded us that freedom is not a gift bestowed upon us by other men, but a right that belongs to us by the laws of God and the laws of nature. So I'm asking you, please do not be discouraged by what has happened. This Supreme Court decision has lit a fire under so many of us. This is our battle, and we recognize that now if we never have before. And just like our founding fathers fought for those that they would never know, we need to do the same. This election is probably the election of our lifetime, maybe of many lifetimes. We owe our founding fathers a life dedicated to preserving our Constitution. We must be willing to put in whatever time, whatever energy necessary to ensure a free and prosperous future for a generation of people that we may never know. It was done for us, so now I ask you, can we do the same? Because You know what? We are in an amazing time in the history of our nation. Think about this. Do you realize that we're living in a time of history with an opportunity that seldom presents itself? An opportunity to do something great, something almost as great as what our founding fathers had done. They established our freedom as they saw them handed down by God, but now we are being called upon to uphold and protect those freedoms, as they have never, ever before been so severely threatened. Well, not since they were proclaimed. That's a calling that we have. It's an amazing opportunity. But you know what? I think it's a fleeting opportunity. Just as it was a fleeting opportunity in the early days of July 1776, exactly 236 years ago this week. Think about this. The Continental Congress was meeting, and they're deliberating, because they are involved now in the most radical event of all time. 13 colonies are to become the new nation of the United States of America. Now, everybody in that room agreed that this is something that needed to be done. There was no dissension there. They agreed this had to be done. What they didn't agree on was the timing. So after a lot of back and forth, finally, John Witherspoon from New Jersey, a very strong man, a man of great faith, stood up and he made an appeal to the people in the room. And he said this. He said, there is a tide in the affairs of men. We perceive it now before us. To hesitate is to consent to our own slavery. Don't you have that same sense of a fleeting opportunity right now? Witherspoon finished his appeal, and then the delegates all approved the Declaration of Independence. And here's the part that always gets to me. Historians tell us that those men immediately recognized the magnitude of what they had just done. You know how I know that? Because historians tell us that they wept openly, while others bowed in prayer. Very smart men. I mean, after all, they gave us this astounding document. They were articulate men. They were brave men because they knew that this was a dangerous business, this independence. And they were spiritual men because they recognized that God and God alone was the author of their freedom. And yet, these brave, articulate, spiritual men, there were no bells and whistles, there were tears. Because they knew that they were once slaves to an oppressive government, and now they were free. Let me ask you something. If they could see us right now, if they could come back, would they not weep again? Should it be said of us that we were once free and now slaves? God forbid. God forbid. You know, Carl Schurz once said, my country, right or wrong. If right, to be kept right. If wrong, to be made right. That's our duty right now, to make our country right. And I suggest that we too now are living in what Paine referred to as a time that tries men's souls. These times are not for the faint of heart, for those who are patriots, as long as being a patriot requires nothing more from us than waving a flag or wearing a red, white, and blue t-shirt. Those days are over. I mean, we could have pulled that off a long time ago, but we can't pull it off now. That's not patriotism. This is not for the faint of heart. We find ourselves in every bit of a crisis that our founding fathers found themselves. And just as in Paine's time, we find ourselves in a struggle.